Everybody, this is Dalton Burkhardt, and this is my legal aspects of teacher evaluation. So the first article I summarized is the teacher evaluation heads to the courts. Many policies have changed regarding the ways teachers are evaluated, and with these new changes, lawsuits have formed against the residing states. I summarized a couple of the cases for us. For the first case is the Cook versus Bennett, and it's a Florida case. The Florida Education Association filed a lawsuit stating that teachers are being evaluated inefficiently by basing their performance on students they do not teach or in subjects that they have no background in. And another case that I summarized is the NAA New Mexico versus Scandura. The lawsuit established for the NAA of New Mexico which explained to the State Department that the new evaluation systems that they had overrides the law that gives the school districts control over teacher evaluations. And then the second article I evaluated, I just took a lot of points and summarized points that I thought were more important within the issue. And it's an issue overview. The first issue I have is that evaluations are used and created by the districts and the school resides in and that there are four factors that have transferred teacher evaluation process from the district to the state. The four factors are research on teacher quality, philanthropic interest in boosting teacher effectiveness, which actually results into the race to the top competition between districts and schools for the grants. Efforts of advocacy groups and policymakers to revamp state laws or evaluations, and political pressure to dismiss poorly performing teachers. New evaluations have been a hot topic in the education. Changes have been made to take away class observations by the administrator for evaluations. New evaluation systems rely on more than just a checklist and have become more sophisticated, focusing on objectives and standards. Teacher unions don't mind the area of a better evaluation process, but they do want the scores of the students' standardized tests to have. They do not want the scores of the tests to have an effect on the evaluation process. And then also, teachers do not like the idea of being evaluated on the performance of students they don't have in the subjects they don't teach. And I completely agree with that. I would not want to be subjected to and evaluated on students' math performance when I don't teach math, I teach physical education. The next article is a resource guide for staff, National Education Association leaders and staff. This article provided information on issues when dealing with teacher evaluation systems. Too much of the focus is replacing teachers and not underperforming instead of helping them grow. So the teachers are being fired for their lack of performance instead of getting issued professional development and just chances to grow as an individual and as an educator. And then the funding contributions help reach the race to the top competition, as I described earlier. And that has a large focus on teacher evaluations. And then finally, that highlights the main areas of the NA leaders and what they need to focus on when implementing change into the evaluation systems. Teacher evaluation process in my district. We do a lot of digital walkthroughs. I believe our building leaders are assigned at least 30 digital walkthroughs each month. So in a smaller school like mine, I get a walkthrough 2 to 3 times a month just to help our building leader meet his deadline. There's one scheduled evaluation and one that is proceeded without knowledge. So I get to pick a date on when I would like to be evaluated for one of them. And then on the next one, the building leader comes in unannounced and follows through with an evaluation. Then after these evaluations, I have a post-observation meeting either the day after or so I have time to look over my evaluation scores. And then if I have any questions, I'm able to ask the building leader on those and what I can do to improve my teaching strategies and my instruction. Formal observations happen once every 3 years, and with those, our building leaders use the E4E evaluation tool, and that's just a set guidelines that's set up into like groups and charts. Makes it very, very easy for them. And what they look for, the four elements, which is the learner, instruction, the professional, which is myself, and the knowledge. Resources a teacher has in my district. If the teacher feels that the evaluation is inaccurate, they can discuss with the building leader after their observations. So either the day after they've gone over their evaluation scores and stuff like that, they're able to meet with the building leader in his office and discuss their concerns. And then if a teacher feels that they're just unjustly let go, they're fired because they're maybe not didn't have good scores on their evaluation, they're offered a due process to state their case before termination. And finally, if a teacher feels that they're being mistreated by the building leader, they need to follow the chain of command more or less. And with that, after our building leader, it goes to the assistant superintendents and then the superintendent. And so if they have any concerns, they can address the superintendent first. Okay, the court case I discovered was Doe versus Antosh. It's a lawsuit that asked the California Supreme Court to force 13 school districts throughout the state to evaluate educators on the Stoll Act. And now the Stoll Act focuses on different measures such as student progress toward the district's state standards. They're measured by standardized based tests, teacher instructional techniques, and teacher adherence to curricular objectives and the learning environment. These 13 districts were not following that. They were basing it mainly on the student performance and their test scores. And a lot of the state decided that was unjust for the teachers, and they wanted those schools to be forced to do the Stoll Act. And the result of that is the bill AB 2826 was passed, and that was on June 29th of 2016, and that refocused teacher evaluations on student progress and ensuring districts meaningfully evaluate educators based on multiple measures of academic growth. So the 13 districts were forced to base it on the Stoll Act and focus on academic growth and performance, and not just what they did on the standard tests. And that is my source at the bottom. And now, as a building leader, I would ensure that I'm following legal issues associated with the evaluation process by knowing my district's evaluation process and policies. If it changes, I need to stay up to date on the changes and just being able to discuss it with the superintendent and just stay current as possible. Finally, I need to know the state's laws in regards of the evaluation procedures. Our state and district need to have constant communication, and we need to be able to implement changes that are made by the state. And then effectively discuss collected data, and that's with the teachers. I know during the evaluations they're going to want to know why they scored a certain way or why I gave them certain criteria to follow and why they are not as distinguished as they thought they were in specific areas. And I could use that data to back up my decisions and discuss concerns that they might have. And that is my presentation. I hope everybody learned a little bit of something, and thank you for your time.